The nightclubs in Lagos almost knew John by name. If he wasn't laughing loudly at the bar with a glass of whiskey in his hand, he was in a dark corner with a woman clinging to him like perfume. "Johnny boy, you dey enjoy life," his friend Peter shouted over the loud music. John smirked, pulling a lady closer. "Na so, life is short, my guy. If you no chop, life go chop you." Women loved him because he spent freely. Men envied him because he never lacked female company. And John enjoyed the reputation. It made him feel untouchable. But in the quiet of the night, when the music faded and the women left, he often lay awake, staring at the ceiling. His chest felt empty, as if something was missing. For the first time, John began to think, maybe it's time to stop this life. Maybe I need one woman I can call my own. That thought would soon lead him down a path he never imagined. One Sunday morning, John surprised his friends. Instead of waking up with a hangover, he dressed neatly and went to church. "Brother John, long time," the pastor greeted, shocked to see him. John smiled sheepishly. "I just felt, I need to change. I want to settle down." The pastor nodded knowingly. When a man grows tired of the world, he begins to search for peace. That word, peace, rang in John's heart. He wanted peace, respect, and the kind of marriage his late father always talked about. From that day, John stopped chasing random women. He began to pray, asking God to give him a good wife. Most importantly, he wanted a virgin, someone pure, untouched, who would make him proud. And just when he thought it was impossible, he met Grace. It was at a friend's birthday party that John first saw her. Grace sat quietly in one corner, dressed modestly, sipping juice while other girls danced wildly. John couldn't take his eyes off her. She was different, calm, reserved, almost innocent. He walked over with his usual confident smile. "Hi, my name is John. Can I keep you company?" Grace looked up, her eyes soft but steady. "If you want to sit, sit. I'm not chasing anyone away." Her calm voice struck him deeper than any flirtatious giggle he had heard in his life. They talked for hours, and unlike other women, she didn't ask for drinks or money. Weeks later, as their friendship grew, John finally asked, "Grace, have you ever, been with a man?" She looked down shyly, then whispered, "No, I am still a virgin." John's chest swelled with pride. At last he had found the woman he wanted to marry. From the moment Grace agreed to marry him, John became a different man. He pampered her with gifts, drove her around town, and treated her like a queen. At the bar one evening, his friends couldn't hide their surprise. "Johnny boy, you don't mellow, oh? What didn't happen?" Peter teased. John leaned back with a proud smile. "My guys, you dey waste time with all those street girls. Me, I don't find treasure. She's pure, untouched, a virgin." The table went silent for a moment, then erupted in laughter and disbelief. "Virgin? For this Lagos?" another friend mocked. John slammed his glass on the table. "Laugh all you want. On my wedding night, I'll be the first and the last. No man fit say he touched my woman." His friends shook their heads, but John didn't care. To him, he had won the biggest prize of all. What he didn't know was that the prize he bragged about was hiding a secret darker than his wildest sins. The church bells rang loudly as Grace walked down the aisle in her white gown, her face glowing beneath the veil. John's heart pounded with pride. He couldn't believe this gem was now his wife. Family and friends filled the hall with songs, laughter, and prayers. Even John's old friends from the club showed up, whispering among themselves. "Na him new life be this," Peter murmured. "Make we see if he fit keep one woman," another friend replied with a smirk. After the reception, John whisked Grace away to their new home. The house was decorated, the bed covered with red roses. John's heart raced. This was the night he had been waiting for. He reached for Grace's hand gently. "My wife. Tonight is ours." But Grace stiffened, lowering her eyes. "John, please, I'm not ready." John chuckled, thinking she was just shy. "Don't worry. I'll be gentle." Still, she refused. That night ended with John lying awake, staring at the ceiling, confusion creeping into his joy. The next evening, John tried again. He lit scented candles, played soft music, and held Grace close. "Baby, it's just me," he whispered, kissing her neck. But she pulled away quickly, clutching her wrapper like it was her lifeline. "John, please, I can't, not tonight." John's face faded. "John, this is our second night. Why are you acting like this? Don't you trust me?" She forced a smile, avoiding his eyes. "I do. I'm just nervous. You know I've never done this before." John sighed deeply. He remembered the stories he had heard about virgins. Some cry, some resist, some even beg. Maybe this is normal, he thought. So he gave her time. Night after night, he tried, and night after night, she refused. At first, John's patient, but soon his patience began to turn into worry. Something was not right. 2 weeks turned into 3. John's frustration grew like fire. Each night he tried to touch his wife, she found an excuse. Headache, tiredness, even fasting and prayers. He watched her closely. Grace never undressed before him. She would always change clothes in the bathroom and come out fully covered. Even when she slept, she wrapped herself tight in a long nightgown. One night, John confronted her. "Grace, are you hiding something from me?" Her eyes widened. "No, I'm just shy. You know, this is new for me." John rubbed his head angrily. His friends had started mocking him. "Virgin will you marry? Done turn Reverend Sister in house," Peter joked at the bar. John laughed it off in their presence, but inside his pride was bruised. He began to wonder if something was seriously wrong with his marriage. By the 4th week, John's patience snapped. Every time he reached for Grace, she dodged him like fire. She smiled in public, but at night she became distant, guarded, almost fearful. John's mind raced. Is she secretly sick? Did she lie about being a virgin? Or is she hiding something bigger? He began to notice little things. She never let him touch her waist. She always locked the bathroom door, and whenever he tried to be playful, she quickly changed the topic. One night, after she slipped into bed fully covered, John lay awake staring at the ceiling. His heart pounded with unease. "This is not shyness," he muttered to himself. "This is a secret." From that moment, John vowed to uncover the truth, even if it meant doing what a husband should never do. It happened on a Saturday morning. Grace went into the bathroom for her usual long bath. John's suspicion had reached boiling point. He tiptoed to the door and pressed his ear against it. The sound of splashing water echoed. Slowly, he bent and peeked through the tiny crack near the hinge. What he saw froze his blood. Grace stood naked, her back to him, but when she turned, John's eyes widened in horror. Between her thighs was nothing, smooth, empty, no private part at all. His heart leapt into his throat. "Jesus Christ!" he screamed without thinking. The sound startled Grace. She turned sharply, clutching a towel. Her face went pale. "John, you saw me." John staggered backwards, trembling. What are you? What have you done to me?" Grace fell to her knees, weeping. "John, please, I didn't mean to deceive you. I was born this way. I have no private part." John blinked hard, shaking his head in disbelief. "That's impossible! It's not natural!" She sobbed louder. "My parents knew, but they hid it. They wanted me to have a chance at marriage, a chance at love. I was scared. I thought if I told you, you would leave me." John's hands trembled as he gripped his head. The weight of her confession crashed into him. His virgin bride was not the prize he thought she was. She was a mystery, a secret, a curse he could not escape. John slumped into a chair, staring at Grace as if she were a ghost. His voice cracked. "So, all the boasting I did, all the dreams I had, were nothing but lies?" Grace crawled closer, still weeping. "John, I didn't choose this life. Doctor said it's a condition from birth. I can't change it. I only prayed you would still love me." John's fist slammed the table. "Love you? Grace, you robbed me of my manhood. What kind of marriage is this without intimacy?" She shook her head slowly, tears streaming. "I gave you my heart, John. Isn't that enough?" But her words only deepened the bitterness in his chest. He remembered the nights he laughed at his friends, bragging about marrying a virgin. Now he wished the ground would open and swallow him. The truth was out, and it tasted like poison. Days turned to nights, but John's anger did not fade. He avoided Grace, sometimes sleeping in the sitting room. Yet no matter how much he tried, he couldn't erase her confession from his mind. One evening, while pacing in frustration, he remembered the warning his late grandfather once gave him. "In this family, no man must ever betray his wife. Our bloodline is tied by a covenant. Any man who cheats will die by the curse of our fathers." At the time, John had laughed it off, but now the memory gripped him like chains. He couldn't touch his wife, yet he dared not touch another woman. His friends teased him to take a mistress, but John shook his head violently. He had seen how his uncle slumped and died after being caught with another woman. Now he was trapped in a marriage without intimacy, and a curse that bound his flesh. John whispered into the night, "God, what kind of punishment is this?" Temptation came knocking at John's door. A former girlfriend, Anita, called one evening. "John, long time. I miss you. Let's meet tonight." His body burned with desire. It had been months of emptiness, months of lying beside a wife he could not touch. His mind screamed for release. But the memory of his family's curse flashed before him. The story of his uncle who died in the arms of a mistress, his cousin who fell sick after betraying his wife. Every man who cheated was buried before his time. John dropped the phone, shaking in fear. "I can't," he whispered to himself. I can't die like that." He realized he was chained. He could not touch Grace, and he dared not touch any other woman. His youthful freedom, his pride as a playboy, all seemed like a cruel joke now. For the first time in his life, John felt like a prisoner, trapped not in a cell, but in his own marriage. John's once vibrant life turned gray. He no longer laughed at the bar with his friends. He stopped picking their calls because he couldn't bear their mockery. At home, silence filled the air. Grace tried to cook his favorite meals, tried to smile at him, tried to start conversations. But John only sat quietly, staring at nothing. At night, he lay awake, hearing the sound of crickets outside. Sometimes he wept quietly, cursing himself. Why did I live such a reckless life? Why did I boast so loudly? Why did I choose her? Grace, too, carried her own pain. She loved her husband, but she could see him drowning in regret. "John, please, forgive me," she whispered one evening, tears in her eyes. But forgiveness felt far away. All John felt was emptiness, shame, and the heavy weight of a curse he could not escape. Years passed, but nothing changed. John grew lean, his once bright eyes now heavy with sorrow. The man who once bragged about his conquests was now a shadow, bound to a marriage without touch. His friends moved on, married, had children, built homes filled with laughter. Whenever John saw them, a bitter ache pierced his heart. He had a wife, but no joy, no intimacy, no family. One evening, he stood outside under the moonlight, tears rolling down his cheeks. He whispered, "This is my punishment for living a reckless life, for mocking others, for boasting. Now I must carry this cross forever." Inside, Grace knelt in prayer, asking God to give her husband peace. But deep down, John knew peace would never come. His fate was sealed. He could not touch his wife. He could not touch another woman. He was trapped until death. And so John's life became a silent warning to every man. Sometimes the sins of yesterday build the prison of tomorrow.